Hello, my name is Ken Allen. I'm the Managing Director of Nex Metals Explorations Limited. We're a publicly listed company on the Australian Stock Exchange since 2007. We're listed on basically gold projects in the Goldfields around Kalgoorlie. We have generally been a gold-based company and gold-focused company, so we can specialise. Where Nex currently sits at the moment is we have our 20% interest in our joint venture with Rika Resources. They're the controlling partner. That was an area which Nex held for approximately 12 years, and because we believed in that area, and also the Orient Well area, which is now what Genesis Minerals has. We've believed in the Kalgoorlie region as a general region. I call it a Cinderella area, only because it's always been an area where it's either too close to Leonora, too close to Kalgoorlie, it's too hot, it's too cold. So it hasn't sort of had the exploration focus on it that it maybe should have or could have. You now look at companies like Saturn Metals, which is in the region, 1.8 million ounces. You look at Genesis and the work that they have done in both the early days around Orient Well, but also what Raleigh Finlayson's doing with Genesis at the moment. You look at the exploration work that Rika's doing quite nicely as part of the joint venture in that region. You've got a few listed companies both to the south of Kalgoorlie and to the west of Kalgoorlie, which are starting a lot of exploration and starting to get some very good results from that. So in terms of the last 12 months, our focus has been both the JV, maintaining that where we can, also a tailings project. The tailings project is it's about 350,000 tonnes sitting over the top of the old Cosmopolitan mine. The Cosmopolitan mine in Kalgoorlie produced in its day 1911 when it ceased, pre-war, about 316,000 tonne at an average grade of 16 grams per tonne. So what we've believed in with those tailings, they're just a means to an end. They're not a company maker, but at the right gold price, those tailings have value. And at this current price, they are of significant value to the company. We have recently announced a profit share with the local Aboriginal traditional owners of that region, something the company directors believe dearly in, that sharing with the local Aboriginals is a key to our persona. And so we've done a 65-35% share with them, so they get 35%. We are hoping to then, from that joint venture, is to get an ore sale agreement on those tailings with an existing processor in the region. That'll save a lot of energy and a lot of dilution for shareholders. We've been very cognizant not to do a lot of capital raisings. Perhaps we should have done some more, but we've been cognizant of not diluting shareholders' interest either as part of the culture of the company. So that's been part of the focus. The focus in the next 3 months is to monetize those tailings by getting one of those processors in the region to come and pick them up, truck them off, pay us the money and make money out of them for all the parties concerned. I won't talk dollars on that because obviously we don't know what the dollars are. We know what an approximate gross value of the gold is, but that's subject to commerciality in terms of recoverability and that. So I won't delve into that. The third thing that we've been focused on the last 12 months is Egypt. We haven't said too much about Egypt because most of it's been commercial and confidence discussions at ministerial level in Egypt. I will be going back there in the very near future again to progress that. But what we see, why Egypt, you would ask? From the Goldfields to Egypt, well, the answer's simple. They're very similar. Geologists may argue the point, but what I see is similar dynamics of the people. Don't forget, they were doing gold 6,000 years ago, way before the Goldfields of 200 years ago or 124 years ago. But we see it as similar dynamics. We see it as a land waiting to open up. We see the political changes which have been happening there in the last 10 years under the current president. And we don't get into politics, but we see that that's very much opening up the country. The current Minister of Petroleum and Minerals Resources, he's given many talks where he wants to take Egypt's mining sector from 0.5% mining of the GDP to 5%. Australia, we sit at 12%. So you can see that the growth that Egypt can have. And as I've said to the minister, you either have the resources or you don't, and Egypt does. So we see so much potential for Egypt in this sector. We've started at a small scale. We're working technically with a local company. We're working with them. We're going to help them both with their processing, but also their exploration. And also that will give us a soft entry into Egypt as well. So we're not jumping in the proverbial both feet into the water at the same time. So it gives us that soft entry. The last 12 months, we've obviously done a lot of research on Egypt and see with experts, not me, we've identified many, many targets, and I've conveyed this to the government, many, many targets. I see that Egypt could be a mini Western Australia from a Western mining point of view. Where the company sits at the moment from a cash flow point of view reflects in whilst we're doing the two projects, both the Tailings project and the Egyptian project. We see those as generating cash flow in the very near term. We see that those two projects, the Tailings, hopefully in the next 3 to 6 months, the Egyptian project basically immediately will be cash flow generating. But where we see the company moving forward, obviously we'll need to do a capital raising in the near term. But one of the attractions we see with the Tailings and Egypt is an attempt to bring both of the gold cash flows in line with the costs. So what we see, particularly with Egypt, is that the project we have there could almost be self-funding. What I mean by that is, as we're producing, we're moving the gold, our share of that then funds the exploration we need to do. So we don't necessarily that it needs a lot of capital. So in conclusion, Nex Metals Exploration is an experienced gold producer. We have produced gold in the past. We have gone into open pit mining and we have produced a gold bar, which is more than what other juniors have done. Where we are moving with Egypt is very immediate gold production because they're already in production. What we will be doing is assisting them and working them with their methods and practices to bring them into the Australian way of doing things, both from a safety point of view, an environmental point of view. We are very focused on working with locals. Local employment in Egypt, again, is a very important strategy for the company. We see that the Egypt bigger play to come from this. I hope that you can join us on this journey.